Hey everybody, I am Tim Mooney with the Timothy Mooney Repertory Theater. I am the director of the Timothy Mooney Repertory Theater and also the author of Lost at Santa's Village, a play about my life turning into 11 different one-man plays over the course of the years. It's performing this Sunday and Monday, May 17th and 18th at 9 p.m. Sunday nights I always perform on Facebook Live. Monday nights I am on Zoom. To get to my show on Zoom, you go through calendly.com/Tim Mooney Rep. Tickets there are only $5. I'll also be doing this same show in early September and mid-July. I'll put the dates below in the discussion here. This is my third describer video talking about these plays that I'm doing. You can find my description of Man Cave, a one-man sci-fi climate change tragic comedy. I'll put a link somewhere up there, as I will for Breakneck Julius Caesar, in which I talk about these plays in the format of 5 really important things you need to know about Man Cave or Breakneck Julius Caesar. This one is 5 really important things you need to know about Tim Mooney. Given that Lost at Santa's Village is essentially about me, you're going to find this either extremely intriguing or a little bit self-aggrandizing. Sorry about that. Here we go. 5 really important questions about Tim Mooney. Question number 1. How did you end up doing what it is that you do? Great question. Thanks for asking. I trace the inciting incident of my career way back to the age of 5, which in an incident which is in the title of the play that I'm doing, Lost at Santa's Village. In that incident at Santa's Village, I developed what I am going to casually refer to as a pathology, and the play is about how my pathology turned into my path. In other words, what I found was that I craved attention for various reasons, which I go into in the play. And it was the playing out of that desire for attention, manifesting itself in a career in the theater, a career which eventually would feature me performing 11 different one-man plays in which I was the center of attention, the lone person on stage for a play that I myself had written, where I discovered my ultimate satisfaction and fulfillment in the work that I do. It also gives me a suspicion that everybody has that one thing, that special thing that they're told not to like about themselves, and to work around it, work past it, ignore it, deny it, and that ultimately there may be more happiness and satisfaction out there in life if people should embrace that part of themselves that they really need to love and accept. Sometimes it's about accepting the internal happiness that you want to pursue as opposed to the financial happiness that everyone tells you you're supposed to be going for, which reminds me of my favorite quote from Joseph Campbell. When you see your path laid out in front of you one step at a time, you know it's not your path. Your own path you make with every step you take. That's why it's your path. Question number 2. How do you remember all those lines? I get asked this one pretty much on a daily basis. And to a degree, my answer is that I don't actually, at least not in the way that people think that I do. I remember things more as a physiological experience than as a cognitive experience. My mouth remembers words better than my brain does. I may make it through most plays about 99% word perfect, but quite often I'll have those glitches, those moments where my brain will slip the tracks and I just can't remember one single word, and that one single word stands between me and success. So I sometimes break down and need to check the book or call a line or something. People are amazingly forgiving about that. I think it manages to remind them that I'm not a robot and that there's a live human being actually in the process of remembering things there in front of them. And then each subsequent successful speech reminds them again and again of just how far I have stuck my neck out there. Anyway, as I'm saying, memorization is not so much cognitive as it is physical or physiological. The process of forming words is not so much about the ideas behind those words, but the experience of the speaking. Especially notable in Shakespeare, when I speak Mark Antony's line, "The stones of Rome will rise and mutiny," or when I speak Hamlet's, "To post with such dexterity two incestuous sheets," or there's Richard III, or "hew my way out with a bloody axe." Those are words that give pleasure just in the process of forming them. And it's my body remembers them better than my brain does. It's like if you are playing the piano or typing, you don't necessarily need to remember what keys your fingers are striking. Here's my best example, the Pledge of Allegiance. We all know the Pledge of Allegiance from having to repeat it over and over and over again when we were kids in school. I hated saying the Pledge of Allegiance. But we can probably still speak it without even engaging our brains. In fact, usually we're speaking the Pledge of Allegiance, we're running through our list of things to do in our head at the same time. You can test this. Try writing the Pledge of Allegiance down and see if you don't find yourself moving your mouth at the same time. Question 3. What is my most important skill as it applies towards the work that I do? I learned to read at an extremely young age. As the fourth of 4 boys in my family, the other boys having gone off to school, my mother focused on teaching me to read. And I was a pretty good reader by the time I hit kindergarten. And I didn't realize that other students didn't come prepared with that kind of reading in their background. And so I was always a little surprised when I would get selected for some recitation task or get cast in a play, for instance. Sometimes you just need somebody to see something in you to grasp the extent of your full potential. Why? Because you're the only one inside you and don't necessarily realize that that special something is not already somewhere in everyone else. I think I read to such a degree that when I turned to acting, I had a kind of a leg up just in terms of being able to understand the nuance of verbal expression, the difference, the distinction between characters, and the levels of honesty or deviousness that might be hiding within their words. So I and ultimately found myself portraying many different characters, sometimes in a single show. This led me also to a life as a writer. I wrote short stories, poems, verses, songs, a novel, a textbook ultimately, and many editions of the works of Molière and shortened adaptations of Shakespeare. Perhaps my most important writing exploration was the 7 years in which I ran my own newsletter. I did a newsletter called The Script Review, where I would write reviews on 20 plays every month. And I would come out with a newsletter that was printed on only 10 pages, so I had to fit 20 reviews into 10 pages, and I learned the joys of editing something down into a very particular shape. It was this experience of doing a newsletter over and over again that got me to realize that there is like that perfect word out there waiting for you to find it, and that sometimes you just need to keep massaging your words and reframing your vision to express that special idea. Question number 4. Do you really make a living doing this? Yes. About 20 years ago, I quit my day job, and I threw myself out there. I jumped off of the cliff or out of the tree, hoping to learn to fly on my way down. I took every job that I could find. I did whatever I could to stay out of the dreaded corporate universe, but to really pursue the things that I love to do. And gradually, as I describe in my play, I found my way into a groove where I could actually function, stay alive doing the things that I really love to do. One of my favorite things is being able to, when somebody asks, "What do you do for a living?" I tell them I'm an actor. I usually don't say that I'm a starving actor, but I'm an actor nevertheless. They may sometimes be really impressed and think I'm a TV actor or that I do commercials or movies. They rarely guess that I do stage acting. Making this work is a challenge on the road especially, and I would not be able to do what it is that I do were it not for, as Blanche Dubois says, the kindness of strangers. I've made lots of great friends on the road, and some of them are friends that have a guest room somewhere that they might hold open for me when I'm coming through town. I spend a lot of money on hotel rooms here and there, but always glad to have the ability to stop for a while without draining the budget at the same time. I try not to wear out my welcome. Question number 5, don't you get lonely on the road? Not quite so much as you might think. As an actor, I've got a lot of characters up here in my head, and they talk to each other a lot. And so I always have some sort of exchange that is going on up there somehow. Sometimes it's just a matter of running my lines, which is not an exciting thing, but sometimes it's engaging myself in a series of points of view that form a conversation that may one day wind up being a play. Of course, when I'm only in town someplace for a single day, those relationships may only barely scratch the surface. But I do get the real privilege of interacting with thousands of people in a given year. I get to be that guy for them, the guy who showed up at their school and blew their minds with a special performance, something that they'd never seen before and might never see again. I may put in some 1,000 hours in getting a given show up to performance quality, but sometimes I will perform that show for 2,000 people or many more over the course of its run. I count that as a win. So that's my 5 really important questions about Tim Mooney. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like or subscribe. There are more videos like this on the way, and you won't want to miss a single one. Remember, this show is coming up Sunday night, May 17th on Facebook, 9 p.m., Monday night, May 18th on Zoom. Tickets via calendly.com/Tim Mooney Rep, $5 each. Next fall, I am hoping to also be available to bring these shows to your school or to your theater if the country is available for people gathering in places together again. If not, I'll be here on Zoom, and I'd better develop an audience. So your efforts just in hitting like, sharing, tagging, spreading the word, make it possible for me to survive through the pandemic. I also have a Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you can join up with me, or if you're not wanting to do a Patreon commitment but want to support this work, I'm taking one-time only donations at timmooneyRep.com. Our goal is to inspire, inform, enlighten, educate, and entertain. If that means something to you, I'd love to have you along with me in this effort. And if you enjoy Lost at Santa's Village, it also appears as an afterword in the latest edition of my acting textbook, Acting at the Speed of Life, Conquering Theatrical Style. I would be happy to send you a copy. You can pick up a copy on my page, on Amazon, various other dealers as well. And for more on all of this, please drop by timmooneyRep.com. Thanks very much. See you in the show.